Hello and welcome back to another edition of the MCR. My name is Mac. With me this morning is TJ, and we're going to talk about the Democrats in the election. And they talk about democracy and democracy. We need to save our democracy and we need to protect our democracy against Trump. So what do? They put forth a candidate that got no votes. They completely skirt the process for nominations, and now the Harris-Biden administration, and let's call it that, because how many times has he referred to her as President Harris over the years? So the President Harris administration is suing Virginia for not removing non-citizens from their voter rolls. And this happens in various ways because so many of these states want to get these people a driver's license, okay? Now, because they're non-citizens doesn't mean they're not legit, but they're not allowed to vote in our elections either. So if you're here on a green card or a work visa, you can get a driver's license. As you know, we dealt with those folks in a previous work life. We had to help them get driver's licenses and such. But so they end up on the voter rolls because in some states they automatically register you to vote when you get a driver's license.
Yeah, they call it motor voter.
Yeah, exactly. So in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin tweeted out, with less than 30 days until the election, the Biden-Harris Department of Justice is filing an unprecedented lawsuit against me and the Commonwealth of Virginia for appropriately enforcing the 2006 law to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. So here again, more lawfare is what it is. What say you, Mr. TJ?
Well, this is where you just want to beat your head against the wall. We're talking about people illegally on the voting roll, okay? And
perhaps they don't even know it. I know of one case where a man in Arizona didn't even know he was registered to vote.
And that's entirely possible. And I'll tell you how possible that is because the Democrats have finagled them into legitimately procuring a driver's license. They go in, they get a driver's license, which you can debate that issue also. But by getting the driver's license, they walk out glad they got a driver's license, not knowing that they were put on illegally onto the voting roll.
Well, here's another thing, and this is why the man in Arizona had a fit about it, because he didn't want to find out. This is how much he trusts the Democrats. He didn't want to find out later that he voted and then be charged for voting, because he'd be the one going to jail if he was discovered, even though he didn't do anything to register to vote.
And when the Republicans attempt to follow the law, well, now you've got to be skewered. Now you've got to be maligned and ridiculed and taken to court and blah 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 blah. And it just it is mind-boggling and frustrating as to the way the Democrats just totally tap dance around all the technicalities of the law.
Well, the Secretary of State in Texas, whose name escapes me at the moment, I'll put it on the bottom of the screen here when I get to it. But we did a video on him. They tried to persecute him, and he removed 95,000 people who were not supposed to be on the active voter list off that list. And boy, that's probably going to save Texas, I got to imagine.
Well, yeah, it's so frustrating. And I know before we began the segment, you and I threw out there about what's going on here in Michigan. And I got to tell you, our Secretary of State, Joycelyn Benson, she, through tacit approval, we'll say, from Whitmer, okay, she's just trying to finagle every which way she can to skirt the laws here in Michigan. She's being taken to court. She's lost like 9 or 10 of them, and you know what? I'll give them this much credit. They ain't giving up.
Well, here in Michigan, the axis of evil, Gretchen Whitmer, Jocelyn Benson, and Dana Nessel, as I call them, a bunch of lesbian Marxists. They just change stuff and take us to court later. And if we lose, oh well, but we've already done what we wanted to. That's how they operate in this state.
And a lot of this went back to, and this is where we have to choose our words carefully. This goes back to the whole COVID scenario where a lot of this all began.
Well, they certainly used the opportunity to illegally change election laws, okay, get themselves put into office. Then they legally have changed our election laws to where in Michigan, it's about damn near impossible to get a recount now.
And, to follow up on that, this is where I take issue with our spineless Republicans because, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be seen as being the bad guy. Heck, some of them, their votes are so close, they're like, well, I won my election. Let's just leave well enough alone. It frustrates me.
If you remember the Republican leader in Michigan, he didn't want. We don't do that kind of thing like impeaching the governor because there were grounds to impeach Gretchen Whitmer here in Michigan. She was in defiance of the Michigan Supreme Court orders during that event in 2020 and didn't give a damn. Told them she didn't give a damn and says, "I'll do it another way."
Yeah, I'll say this much in her defense: she wasn't the only governor.
Oh no.
Pennsylvania. You can throw Pennsylvania into that mix.
Well, but that's akin to saying she wasn't the only rapist. I mean.
Oh, yes. Point taken.
So it's they don't want voter ID. They want people who are not citizens, and it's illegal for non-citizens to vote in our elections in every state in the union. But they want to let them do it anyway. They don't care about the law. They only care about their damn power. And that's all they want to do. I'm going to do a spoiler alert on the movie Vindicating Trump, a Dinesh D'Souza movie. So if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to see it. I think it's at the beginning I thought it was a little propaganda. I thought a little preaching to the choir, like all those kind of movies are. The people who need to see it won't. But at the end of the movie, or towards the end of the movie, the last section of the movie, I'll say, they go into a fair amount of detail how easy it is to buy ballots, actual on the ballot paper, print your own, go online, get a list of non-active voters, because all of this is public information in most states. Fill out ballots, fake the signatures, which aren't checked. They aren't computer verified. They're just, you know what they do? They take the signature on the envelope and compare it to the signature on the ballot, which is a joke. So, and they said, well, what about recounts? Well, all you're doing is recounting the phony votes.
Yeah,
it doesn't become illegal until the ballot is cast. But at that point, how are they going to catch? That's how they get away with it. So this is just more election shenanigans. Don't let them get away with it in your state. I tell you, if you see Jose standing in line, you might want to ask him if he's.
Oh yeah, then you'd be a racist.
Well, that's okay. I'm okay. I'd rather be a racist or accused of being a racist than be a slave to this communist state that we have brewing in this country.
Yeah.
So unless you have anything else, I think we'll wrap this one up.
No, so. I've vented my piece.
All right. So with that, as we always say, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.